Alrighty, man. I can't believe college basketball season is back. We're 1 week away, around just under a week away from the college basketball season. I previewed Pitt basketball. Now it's time to preview the whole landscape of college basketball. Welcome back, Justin, my good friend who knows a lot of college basketball. Justin, are you ready to go?
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. At the time of this recording, I think we have 6 more bleeps until college basketball season. I definitely appreciate coming back on the podcast. I think it's my third time. I think we've done a preview last year and then the NBA draft stuff as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to talking some hoops.
Yep, you're definitely the guy. You definitely know your ball. You could definitely match what I could say. Um,
Yeah,
so definitely excited
maybe.
to preview the season. So let's get started. I think it was October 12th or sometime around there. The Associated Press announced their top 25. All the votes came in. So I'm just going to rattle it off 25 to 1, and then we're going to, review it and give our thoughts on it. So number 25, North Carolina. Number 24, Wisconsin. Number 23, Creighton. Number 22, Michigan State. Number 21, Gonzaga. Number 20, Auburn. 19 is Kansas. 18 is Tennessee. 17 is Illinois. 16 is Iowa State. 15 is Alabama. 14's Arkansas, 13's Arizona, 12's UCLA, 11's Louisville, 10 more. 10's Texas Tech, 9's Kentucky, 8's BYU, 7's Michigan, 6 is Duke. Now your top five. 5 is St. John's, 4 is UConn, 3's Florida, 2's Houston, and number 1's the Purdue Boilermakers. So, Justin, looking at the top 25, what are the things that really jump out to you? And do you have any critiques for it?
I mean, feel like it's pretty easy to say this team shouldn't be ranked as high and this team shouldn't be ranked this low. But I mean, it is like the preseason. I do understand it's a different kind of college basketball season because of how public the preseason exhibition games are. So I feel like we do get a little bit more about these teams preseason than in years past. But I mean, I don't know if you wanted to break it down, starting at the top. But I think Purdue, Houston, Florida, I think those are definitely the top three in my opinion. I'd probably have Florida one. I feel like with keeping Condon, Houch, and Yulu. I kind of forget how to pronounce his
You got it, I
name.
think.
And then also picking up Fland and Xavier Lee from Princeton as the national defending champions with probably the most with the coach who has the most potential and now has proven himself. So I'd say at the top, I'd personally have Florida one. I think I'd have Houston two as well. I feel like they definitely have another typical Kelvin Campson super tough basketball team, and I feel like they kept a lot of their top players, but I don't know who you would have personally at the top couple. But
Yeah, I definitely respect it. I did release it on Twitter and my Instagram. I have Purdue number one. I just think they have the best returning players. I think Brain Smith's
hmm
entering the season as probably the best player in the country, and then Trey
hmm
Kaufman-Renn is absolutely terrific. So you have those two guys coming back, and they added a bunch of guys in the portal like Oscar Clough
yep,
and Liam Murphy, and they got the Israeli Omer Mayer, I think his name is. He's really
yes,
good.
hmm
And
that's right.
obviously Fletcher Loyer coming back. So
Yeah,
with that, they're definitely my number one team. And I'm definitely gonna get into that more when we talk about our best teams in each conference. And I've St. John's as my number two team. I'll get into that as well. And Florida, they're definitely in the top five. Only thing about Florida is I don't know how it's gonna work when they're starting basically three big men. Like Thomas Howe at the three is gonna be pretty interesting.
hmm
That's the only thing,
Good
and
point.
I don't know if they have that much depth. So I like their team, but I think hey, it's I'll preview it, but I don't have them winning the SEC. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but yeah, that's my top of my top 25. I'm gonna not say everything because I'm gonna talk about the teams who shouldn't be in this in my overhyped teams. But two teams I want to look at here in the top 25 that I think is pretty interesting. One is Arkansas at 14. I like Arkansas. I think they deserve to be ranked. I have them personally lower just because I don't know how it's going to work with Darius Acuff and DJ Wagner in the backcourt. They're both very ball dominant guards. So I think they're going to have some trouble getting going, but they're a pretty deep team. So I'm just worried about how those guys are going to coexist when they're two very ball dominant players. But overall, I like their team. The next one is Wisconsin. Every year, Wisconsin looks like kind of crap, but Greg Gard is such a good coach, and he just such good developing players. He makes players like who thought John Tonje was going to turn into what he was last year?
May.
So who's it going to be this year? Is it going to be Nick Boyd or Andrew Rohde? Austin Rapp is a great transfer.
Hmm.
So I don't know if they deserve to be ranked, but I do get it because this guy just turns. He develops players in the stars every
Yeah.
single year. So I don't think they should be ranked, but I know I'm not going to argue against it. So those are the two teams I was like pretty interested about, but still, we're definitely going to get into more. So yeah, let's get into my favorite thing to do every year is list sleeper and overhyped teams because every year I do this and I look so stupid. So Justin, list out your sleeper teams coming into this season.
So, I mean, I feel like these teams probably aren't like the real definition of sleepers, but they're still like Power 5 teams that are probably ranked like in the bottom half that I would have a lot higher up. So I think my first team is Oklahoma. I'm sure you know Ryan Hammer on Twitter, and he had Oklahoma as his 13th team out of 16. I thought that was pretty shocking because I feel like they made probably one of the best transfer portal classes. So they definitely stepped it up big time in that facet by picking up Xavier Brown from St. Joe's, who he is a Philly kid. Tay Davis from Notre Dame. He's kind of like a 3-4, but like he just gets a ton of boards. He's really good at the basket. I thought Darian Reed from Alabama is like such a good like plug and play. He can fit into pretty much any team, and I think he's going to help Oklahoma a lot. I know Dewey has a lot of experience watching this kid play, but I think Nigel Pack is back for his 6th season.
He's
Um,
been around, man. He's a joke among all my friends from
I
Pitt.
mean, I think he only played like a handful of games last season, but I mean, like, I think, I forget who Oklahoma scrimmaged last week. I think it was Wisconsin, and he, I forget exactly how many points Pack had, but I think it was like over 20, I think. And I think Pack is gonna be 25 when March Madness comes. So definitely like a veteran player there. I'm a little concerned by their like about their like full rotation because I feel like those are like 4 really solid players, but I kind of struggle to see how they're gonna get a lot of productivity out of like the rest of the team. And then also my second team, so this team got a new coach, I think 2 seasons ago. It's the team that no one expected to be in the Big Ten from the Pacific Northwest. It is Washington. So they had, I would say, one of the best transfer portal pickups in the Big Ten as well, getting Wesley Yates, who was actually a freshman at Washington 2 seasons ago, but did not play. And then they also got Desmond Claude, who is probably one of the best like pure scorers, like just like he can do it from down low, mid range, and from three. I did enjoy watching Zoom Diallo a lot last season. I believe he was a true freshman who averaged 11 points. Another freshman from the Big Ten, Lathan Somerville from Rutgers. He gave that team a lot of good, productive minutes last season. And then they also picked up two 19 plus point per game guys in Jacob. I'm gonna butcher his name. Jacob Oganovic and Quimari Peterson from Lipscomb and ETSU. So they do have a lot of backcourt depth. So I'm kind of concerned about how they're going to play on the wings. I do trust Frank Kepnang down low as the starting center, but I think their wing, I feel like on defense they might struggle a lot, but I've seen people have Washington as low as like 15, and personally, I think they're in my top 9. So I think those two are like the teams that I'm definitely like a lot higher on than like the consensus.
So people have Washington 15th in the Big Ten next year,
I
or
think that's like the lowest that I saw. I feel like
geez,
the majority of people had them from like 11 to like 14, and I think they're like 7 to 9. But
11 to 14. It's a
hmm
sneak peek. I agree with you. They're one of my
yeah.
sleeper teams as well. If someone has Washington 11 to 14 in the Big Ten, they don't know anything about college basketball. That's
hmm
crazy to me. So, yeah, this is my favorite thing to do all year. I always look so stupid. So my first one is I'm gonna start off with I have 3 teams that I listed in my top 25 that did not end up in the top 25, all from the Big Ten. Then I have 4 very dark horse sleeper teams. Well, some of them aren't very dark horse, but so I'm gonna start off with USC. I really like what Eric Musselman, the portal, he is what do they call him? The portal I forget.
I think
He's
it's
known for the
something,
portal.
but yeah.
So I really like what they did this year. They bring in Chad Baker Mazar, who's probably the oldest player in Division One.
Oh
Rodney
yeah.
Rice, who's a fantastic player from Maryland. They also bring back a one guy that they bring 2 Horizon League transfers over. The one guy got to watch a Robert Morris and Marion Dickerson. He's an absolute glue
Yep.
guy. He'll do whatever it takes to win. The other guy's from Youngstown State, Gabe Dines. This guy is going to be the him and Jaden Quaitnance are probably gonna be the this Dines, he blocks every single shot. He's a top 3 rim protector in the country. And they also brought a couple other transfers as well. So I really like this USC team going into the
hmm
season. And the next one is Washington. I'm not going to say much because you absolutely nailed it. Washington did a heck of a job in the portal getting Claude and Yates from USC, Peterson
hmm
and Ognezovich. I can't say his name either. They're
Yeah,
both
same.
guys who averaged like around 20 points per game and shot lights out from 3. And also got Frank Kepnang, who I really liked. I don't know, he's kind of bounced around. He's a heck of a
hmm
center. They also have a ton of depth. They have JJ Mandequit, who's a freshman coming in who played with AJ DeBansa. So Somerville from Rutgers, I do like a lot. They also have Bryson Tucker, who's a top recruit at Indiana coming over. So they built such
hmm
a transfer heavy team, but this team is going to be able to shoot and score. And I think
Yeah.
they're going to be, I have them 6th in my Big Ten rankings. So then the last one's Ohio State. I was super high on Ohio State last year and they didn't pan out, but they bringing back a ton of their players from last year. Bruce Thornton's one of the best point guards in the country. John Mobley's one of the best shooters in the country. Then Devin Royal's an all-around really good player. And they bring 2 front court transfers as well. Brandon Knoll. I actually got to watch him play Robert Morris as well. He's a 6'8" forward who could really
hmm
score. Then Christoph Tilley is a really good center coming from Santa Clara. So I really like the starting 5 for Ohio State. I have them in my top 25. So those are 3 Big Ten teams I really like going into the season. Then here's my 4 dark horse teams. Two of them coming from the A. It's SMU. SMU has
Mm-hmm.
maybe one of the
I love
best
it.
backcourts in the country. Boopy Miller and Jaron Pierre Jr. These guys are going to fill it up all year long. These two guys will be able to bring SMU to the dance. Jaron Pierre was one of the best scorers in the country last year. This guy could absolutely score, and everyone knows about Boopy Miller. So I really like SMU. The next one's a team that is Pitt's rival, but I really like what they doing going into the season. It's Syracuse. They're bringing back J.J. Starling, who averaged around 20 points per game. Another guy no one talks about is Donnie Freeman. He was a top 10 player in the
Mm-hmm.
class a couple years ago. He had injuries last year. He comes from IMG Academy. When this guy's healthy, he's an absolute stud. He's going to be able to score. Then you bring in Georgia Tech transfer Nate George, who could be the pure point guard, put J.J. Starling off the ball. I really like the setup of this team. And also a guy I really like is Nate Kings from Oregon State. This guy's an absolute flamethrower. So I'm really liking the Syracuse team and have them making the tournament, which is a hot take because Syracuse usually always looks good preseason. But I don't know. I really like this team, so I'm going to roll with it. Then my next one is Vanderbilt. They had such a great, surprising season last year, and no one's really talking about them. But I think Mark Byington's quietly built another great team. Frankie Collins is their point guard, who's been on like 100 teams, but he's a good player. George Kimball is an absolute stud at Eastern Kentucky. They played Pitt last year, and he's a really good scorer. They also have A.K. Okereke. He comes from the Ivy League. I cannot remember what school he's coming from.
Cornell, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna check that right now. But I remember watching the Ivy League tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and he was amazing. So I
Yeah.
really like that pickup for them. I'm checking right. Yes, he came from Cornell. He averaged
Yeah.
13, 4 assists, and 5 rebounds last year. He's going to be their Swiss Army knife. Devin McLaughlin, a guy I got to watch at Boston College. He's just doing his second year at Vanderbilt. This guy's a glue guy. Then Jalen Washington's a guy that I really liked at UNC. He just never really got an opportunity. I think he should be a
Mm-hmm.
really good piece for them. But the thing I like about Vanderbilt is their potential bench. You have Mike James, who was a really good player at Louisville. I think he's dealt with some injury issues. He transferred somewhere last year. He's there now. They also have Duke Miles, the guy who transferred like 3 or 4 different schools from
Yeah.
Oklahoma. But he's a good
He
player.
did.
You also have Tyler Nickel, who's a flamethrower, and Tyler Tanner, a really good young point guard who works out Darius Garland in the offseason. So I think Vanderbilt's a really deep team. They're going to be really good again when no one's expecting it, just like last year. And my last team is not really a sleeper team, but I just want to bring them up is Kansas State. I'm only talking about Kansas State because they have PJ Haggerty. This guy walks onto the court and scores 20 points. He's basically the SGA of college basketball. He loves the free
Mm-hmm.
throw line. So this guy's gonna just him being on the team. He's gonna get them to the dance. And then Abdi Bashir Jr., another walking bucket from Monmouth. So they have those two guys for Kansas State. It's gonna be a super fun team to watch. So those are my teams that people are sleeping on. And usually it doesn't go well, but maybe I'm up to something this year. All right, Justin, do you have any overhyped teams to talk about?
I feel like I might get caught on the record here with this one, but I feel like with Illinois, I kind of forget where in the top 25 they were ranked. I think they actually weren't that insanely high. I think they were like seven,
They're seven.
but I just don't really love like how this team's gonna fit. I feel like with the two tall Ivisic brothers, I just don't know like how that's really gonna work. Um, I'm not like huge on Kylan Boswell too much. I feel like Ben Humer, Chris, I think he could actually be like a pretty solid like breakout player, and I do like Stojakovic. I felt like he like really just filled it up in the ACC, but I kind of struggle to like describe why I think they're overhyped, but like I feel like I've just like seen people have them like top five, top 10, which is like a little too rich for me. But I think like the AP poll at 17, like I think that's actually pretty fair. And then I don't think this team's getting too much hype, but it's like a really big program that brought over a good coach. I definitely wanted to hit on Texas a bit. but I'm just not really a Tremont Mark fan, and I feel like he's gonna be counted on this season to really carry the load. And I feel like at Arkansas, like he definitely was like a pretty solid player, but like definitely not like a go-to like number one option in like the best conference in college. So I don't really love their depth as well. I feel like they're gonna have a very hard time scoring the ball. I do like Dalen Swain a lot, who Sean Miller brought from Xavier, and then also Simeon Welcher as well. I also think like he's a pretty good like plug and play. But I just feel like from the players they brought back from last season, Jordan Pope and Chendell Weaver, who I think's there for like his like third or fourth season. I just don't really see it with this team. I think I have them 14 in the SEC. That might be a little too low. I feel like I feel like I might put Georgia over them, or I feel like I might swap them with Georgia. But I mean, like, I do understand that Sean Miller is like a very good coach, but like, I feel like it might take a year or two for him to kind of adjust. And then my final team, I also don't think they're really overhyped. It's one of Dewey's favorite teams. I'm not really a Maryland fan of like how they've really constructed the roster for Buzz's first season. I thought I thought Miles Rice at Indiana would be a lot better than what he really was, because like at Washington State two seasons ago, like he was probably one of the best freshmen in the country, and I think he won a March Madness game as well. I do like Pharrell Payne a lot. Former Big Ten guy at Minnesota, who I've seen that he's coming back. Like he's like pretty exciting, kind of that like old school, like just like down in the paint guy. But I feel like outside of those couple players, I know Darius Adams is a pretty high recruit. I think he was like a near five star, but I just don't really see it with them. And I've seen a couple people have Maryland in that like 10 to 12 spot. I'd probably have them closer to like 14-ish. I feel like they're kind of like same tier of like Nebraska, but so I'm kind of like defeating the purpose of this by like I don't think these teams are really overhyped, but like it's just teams that like I'm not sold on, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's
I mean,
very interesting. So yeah, I kind of want to talk about both your sleepers and overhyped teams. So I think it was funny how you're talking about Texas. I remember you were saying Hammer has Oklahoma at like 13. I actually have Oklahoma at 14. I do like their backcourt. Yeah, I really like
yeah,
Nigel Pack. He's a great shooter. I'm just like kind of worried about their front court. Like, is Darian Reed going to be the 5 star everyone thought he'd be at Alabama? I mean, their big guys are pretty weak there. I don't know. That's the reason why I'm not big on Oklahoma, is I don't know how they're going to be in the front court and protecting the rim and rebounding. And Texas, I can see what you're saying. I still kind of like the team Sean Miller's built. It's going to be a tough team. Tremont Mark is a solid player. Chendall Weaver, I thought he's a really impactful player. Pope is a great scorer. So I don't mind. I can see what you're saying, but I have Texas eighth in the SEC. I think they have a pretty solid team. Illinois, I kind of like. I think it's gonna be pretty interesting how they play both Ivisic
hmm
brothers. I agree with that. I
yeah,
really like Stojakovic. I got them watch him at Stanford and Cal. He's a really good scorer, and I think Ty Rogers coming back from injury, he's a really good glue guy. Boswell's a solid point guard. I like Illinois. I have them seventh in the Big Ten. Maryland, yeah, I think the backcourt could be pretty weak, but I think Miles Rice, for some reason, Indiana didn't work. This guy's still very, at Washington State, he was
yeah,
absolutely fantastic. But I think this Maryland team is going to be a gritty team who wins on who's they're gonna play harder. Solomon Washington, he's like probably the best wing defender in college basketball. I think that pickup is amazing. Pharrell Payne's an absolute beast down low. So I think Miss Maryland team might not put up the most points, but they're gonna play harder than you. I think that's the reason why they're gonna win a lot of these games. But I really like Washington and Payne coming over from Texas A&M. So, yeah, I thought it was very interesting what you were saying. So, yeah, let's go into I have 4 overhyped teams. So these are the 4 teams that I was talking about earlier that I don't know why they're even ranked. They're ranked basically just because of their name. My first one is Kansas. Darren Peterson, in my opinion, he's the first overall pick. He's absolutely terrific. But Kansas literally built a mid-major team around him. I mean, what are you doing? It's basically a bunch of mid-major transfers and a bunch of reclassified freshmen. This roster just looks really rough. I think they'll be fine just because how good Darren Peters is, but like you got to hope Elmarco Jackson's the 5-star they thought he would be. But your prize transfers are Melvin Council and Jaden Dawson, two like okay mid-major players. Trey White, it's like his 5th school. I just don't see it with this Kansas team. Like them being ranked that high is insane just because of their name. I agree Pearson's absolutely terrific, but this Kansas team kind of reminds me of Trey Young's team. Like Pearson's gonna have to carry them to the tournament just like Trey Young did, and I think they might start off hot, but I think they're gonna tail off at the end of the season. So that's my first one. The second team I don't like is Gonzaga. Did Tyon Grant Foster get a waiver or anything? I don't
I
know.
think he's like in the process. Don't really.
So even if he's not playing or not, I like this team's front court. I love EK. I love Braden Huff. I really like Adam Miller, but I don't know. Jalen Warley, I think he's a really bad point guard. Like this guy doesn't really bring anything. Like he's he has no offensive game whatsoever. Like he really can't do anything besides like run the offense. He's a pretty good defender, but he's a terrible offensive player. So I think their backcourt is going to be pretty weak. I think Gonzaga will still probably make the tournament as an 8 or 9 team, probably win a game, but they're not going to make the Sweet 16 or anything just because I don't think their guard plays good enough. My next one is Michigan State. And one of my hot takes is Michigan State. I don't think they're going to be good at all this year. I mean, look at they got that Caleb Glenn from Florida Atlantic. He's out for the season, but who's going to score the ball this year? They have no depth at all. I mean, I love Cam Ward, not the quarterback, but the Cam Ward who plays high school in Maryland. He was the all-time leading scorer in Maryland high school history. This guy's an absolute stud, but you're really going to rely on a lower 4-star freshman to do that this year. Like Cohen Carr's not a scoring player. Jeremy Fears is not a scoring player. They're gonna rely on Trey Ford, who averaged like 12 points per game from Sanford, I think, and Jackson Kohler and Carson Cooper, who are just like solid centers. Like, who's gonna score the ball on this team? Like, I don't understand how people have this, how they're ranked. I don't understand it. What's your thoughts? I know you follow the Big Ten. Do you see anything from this Michigan State team? I really
Uh,
don't.
yeah, I feel like I kind of wish I included them in mine as well. I kind of think like I have the same thoughts, so I don't want to like repeat ourselves, but I think they are so dependent on Cohen Carr being this like 15 like point per game guy. Really can't shoot, but like you're definitely gonna be relying on him to get a lot of stuff at the rim, and I mean like it's certainly possible. Like I think I have Michigan State like 7 in my Big Ten. I probably would not have them in my top 25. I kind of think Jeremy Fears isn't as good as people say. I do like Jackson Kohler. I think he's gonna be like a 10 and 10 like type of um player because like they don't really have anyone. So I'm kind of regurgitating what you're saying. So I have the same thoughts on that.
Yeah, just an interesting team to me. I feel like they have a lot of fantastic role players, like Cohen
Yes.
Carr, extremely athletic. He's a great defender. Like this guy's an absolute beast, but he's not a scoring player.
Hmm.
I think Cam Ward is going to be one of the best freshmen in the country just because they really have nobody else. Like this is the
Hmm.
guy I'm watching
Yeah.
for, Cam Ward. I think he's gonna be absolutely. I'm kind of excited to see what he does this year, but I could see him being one of the best freshman in the Big Ten and in the country because they're gonna have to rely on him. Like Jeremy Fears is a very solid point guard. Kohler and Cooper are very solid centers. I just don't see who's going to score the ball on this team. They have a bunch of really solid role players, but yeah,
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing is, you can't count out Tom Izzo. You really can't. So I'm very intrigued by them this year,
Mhm.
at least. And then my last team is Tennessee. They're ranked pretty high. This team is so weirdly constructed. They have barely no guards, like, Jacoby Gillespie's fantastic. Then they're gonna start Amari Abram at shooting guard, who's a pretty solid player at Vanderbilt, but he's, like, nothing special. But they have a bunch of centers with no wings. Like,
Yeah.
Nate Ament is fantastic. Like, Ament and Gillespie, they're gonna carry this team, but they don't have any wing talent. They have, like, no shooting. Like Jalen Carey from Vanderbilt, but he's gonna be their power forward who can't shoot. So I don't see the I think the 4 teams I'm kinda talking about, like, their guard, but, like, the 3 teams I brought up, I think the reason why I'm saying that they're overhyped is because they're just really poorly constructed. Those 3 teams, and then I also have Gonzaga as being overhyped. That was fun. Michigan
Mhm.
State's definitely a team I'd be very intrigued by. So let's go. We're gonna pick the best teams in each of the 5 power conferences. We'll start off with my conference, the ACC. Who do you has the best team in the ACC?
I think it's kinda tough to go against Duke this season, but I feel like Cameron Boozer, I think you said that Darren Peterson is your number 1 pick. I'm not exactly sure who mine be, but I feel like Cameron Boozer might be mine. I forgot if it was last night or a couple days ago. I think he had like 22 points and 23 rebounds. If you remember who they played, I kind of forget.
I think they played UCF. I think that's what it
Yeah, I
was.
think it was one of those like Florida
Yeah, they
schools,
played UCF. I think they played
but
another game too, but
but I don't really have much else to say. I kind of want you to like explain your pick a little bit more.
yep. Duke and Louisville are definitely the top 2 options. Um, I'm going with Louisville. I just think Duke is relying on Caleb Foster to be their point guard. He's a really good player, but I think it's a big jump for him to become like their point guard, a really good shooter. Dame Sarr is a very athletic, like modern day wing, but he's coming in
Hmm.
from Italy, I think. I think
Yes. Hmm.
Louisville, he just absolutely Kelsey absolutely cooked in the portal. I think they have more returning guys there to they're gonna be impact contributors. Brian Conwell's an absolute bucket from Xavier. Isaac McNeely's an absolute shooter from Virginia. Lee, shout out Ethan that he's an absolute glue
Yeah.
guy. Brown Jr., he's going to be one of the best freshmen. He'll probably be a top 10 pick. I'm really worried about Duke and Louisville are kind of opposite teams. Louisville's backcourt and also Adrian Woolley from Kennesaw State, like their backcourt's fantastic, but Ali Khalifa and Kason Pryor, I wouldn't call them like rim protecting fives. Like
Right.
they're kind of offensive fives. So I think
Yes.
that'll be their weakness, but you gotta go with guard play. You gotta go guard play in college basketball. I think Louisville has that over Duke. So yeah, I'm going with Louisville as the best team in the ACC. So let's move on to the Big Ten, your conference. Who do you have as the best team in the Big Ten?
Yeah. So I'm not gonna take up too much time because I feel like you also talked about them, but I think it has to be Purdue here. I think they have the best duo. Maybe I'm forgetting someone, but best offensive duo in Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn. And then I just think like it's such a Matt Painter thing to then get this 7-foot behemoth from South Dakota State and Oscar Clough as well, who's definitely gonna start next to Trey. I don't know if you talked about him, but I think Purdue getting Daniel Jacobson back because I forget what exactly his injury was, but I think he got a season-ending injury, probably only in like a couple games into this season. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's going to be a sophomore, but
Mhm.
I think he's this like 7 foot. I think he's like 7'3". And like he's this typical Matt Painter, just like really talented 7-foot player. I think Purdue's gonna win. I might not have a chance to talk about Michigan. So
Go
I
ahead.
kind of like wanted to touch on them because if Purdue wasn't so stacked, I think Michigan would definitely be my pick. But I just think with getting Jaxel Brandenburg, who was basically putting up like video game, just like 30 points, 20 and 10. I think he also averaged like 4 assists per game, which is crazy for like a 6'10" kid. I do really like Cadeau as well. I think he's more of a facilitator that's going to help the Dusty May system a little more than Trey Donaldson did. He definitely doesn't offer as much scoring as Donaldson, but I mean, I just feel like he's a very feisty player. I do really like Trey McKinney, the 5-star. He was one of the big uh, standouts in the high school showcase game. I think it was last May, but like he was filling it up against like all those other different 5-stars. So before I got the chance to wrap up the Big Ten, I definitely wanted to hit on Michigan, but I think it's insanely tough to pick against Purdue, and I'm assuming that's where you're gonna go here as well.
Yeah, Purdue's the best team in the country. Of course, you got to go with them. Like, I already kind of touched at the top of the podcast. They have the best returners in college basketball. And they have a loaded transfer class. That's all I got to say. So I think I already touched on enough in the beginning of the show. But yes, I'm going with Purdue. Michigan is super good. I love Lendenberg, but I'm not that high in Michigan's backcourt. I feel like they just have a bunch of like nice like guards in their backcourt. They're nothing too explosive. But the one guy I like on Michigan's a Day Mara from UCLA. He's an absolute beast. So I like Michigan a lot. And I can't believe the show we haven't even talked about North Carolina. It's usually every year you talk about Duke and UNC. So real quick about UNC, I think they have a really interesting season. They kind of similar off season to Kansas. Like they didn't get the biggest names, but I think they really built a solid team. And I think Caleb Wilson is gonna be one of the top
Yeah.
freshmen in the country. And I think Kyan Evans is a super interesting player from Colorado State. And Jaron Stevenson can really shoot it from Alabama. So I just wanted to talk about UNC for like a second. So I like their team a lot. So let's get back on track. I just wanted to mention them because it's such a big brand. Let's go to the Big East. Who do you have winning the Big East?
All right. So I think St. John's was ranked higher than UConn in the A people, but I think it's kind of tough to pick against UConn this season. But I think they return some of the best players in the sport. I think Solo Ball is definitely like he's definitely one of the best 3-point shooters in college basketball. I think Alex Caravan, I feel like he could have gone to the draft the last two seasons and been like a top 25 pick, but I guess he's getting information that uh teams don't feel the same. So he's coming back. I like Terrace Reed a lot from Michigan. This is going to be a second season there. I definitely like them picking up Malachi Smith from Dayton because I think he's going to help facilitate the team a ton. And he's a guy who has been in college basketball for a long time. I do like Silas DeMarie from Georgia. I think he might be hurt, but I think I saw that he's going to be back for this season opener. He's just a kid who can fill it up. Um, then I think they also got like insanely good recruits as well. Braylon Mullins is a 5-star. Believe he just had an ankle injury a couple days ago. I think John Prostein said he's gonna miss, I think, 6 weeks. So I'm not great with math, but hopefully like he comes back after like the feast week and can kind of ramp up before conference play. But I just think UConn's the deepest team in the conference, and I think their additions are gonna help them take back the Big East this season.
Yep, I like UConn, but I gotta go St. John's.
Hmm.
I think Rick Pitino just built like the strongest 7-man rotation in the country. UConn's injuries really scare me, and I don't know. Alex Caravan just wasn't really that good last year. I love Solomon Ball. I really like Jalen Stewart, but I think St. John's their top 7 guys are just amazing. Ian Jackson, I think he's gonna become a really solid point guard. Josen Sannon, I think it's gonna be a very similar type of player when Rick Pitino had Donovan Mitchell. This guy's a little smaller, but he's super strong and athletic and can really score. Ozziah Sellers got to watch him at Stanford, amazing scorer. Oh no, sorry, amazing shooter. Bryce Hopkins. When he's healthy, he's one of the best players in the whole country. I think so. I think
Hmm.
getting him is great. And Zuby Ejiofor returning, he's the captain of this team. Bench, they have Dylan Darling, a guy who transferred from, I think, Idaho. This guy is Idaho State. Dylan Darling is an absolute scorer. He averaged 20 points per game last year. He's going to be a great shooter off their bench. And then Dylan Mitchell is going to be their glue guy, their Swiss Army knife off the bench. So I think I'll talk about them a little bit more. This team is legit. I have them being as the best team in the Big East. So let's move on to the Big 12. Who do you have in the Big 12 as the best team?
Yeah, so I think I hit on it a little bit in the top 25. I feel like I'm just like one of the biggest Calvin Sampson fans also. I think returning Miles Uzan, Daniel Sharp, like definitely two guys who can just really fill it up. I think JoJo Tugler is probably like one of my favorite players in college basketball. It's insanely tough to find a guy who plays as hard and as tough as him. They picked up a lot of really good recruits, in Chris Senac, I think, Isaiah Harwell and Kingston Flemings. I believe they were all ranked in the top 20 and 24/7. So, it's definitely the Kelvin Sampson way to build a team by returning his top guys and then getting freshmen. So, I think they are gonna play as the same, like, just like Houston volleyball tough. And I think with Sampson at the helm, I think it's very easy to rely on him maybe fixing like potential flaws in the team. So I think Houston's like the safe play, and I think they are the best team in the Big 12.
Yep, I agree. It's hard to go against Houston with Sampson's pedigree. I'm not that high as Houston as everyone else is, but I think compared to the other teams in the Big 12, they're clearly the best team. I love Uzan. He's a great point guard. He really started to score at the end of the season. Sharp is a great shooter. Tugler is probably the best glue guy in the country. That guy does everything. He's kind of like a baby Jawan Roberts. And I love, yeah, Sanak is a center who could really score. He do it all. Isaiah Harwell's a great spot shooter, so I really like their team, but I am a little worried. They are a younger team, so I'm not sure if they're gonna
Hmm.
they're not a veteran team, so that doesn't really do well in college basketball. So I'm not sure if they're gonna like win it all, or I don't know. They're not that deep in the backcourt. They have a lot of freshmen coming in, so they're definitely the best team in the Big 12. But I don't have them making the Final Four. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, let's talk about the SEC, who had 14 teams in the tournament last year. Who's the best team in the SEC? I think you already touched it early in the show, but
Yeah. I'm gonna let you talk a little bit more than me, but I think Florida's the team, but I really like Kentucky a lot. They've really proved it in like the scrimmages so far. If they're your pick, I definitely want you to touch on one of the Pitt players who just went down for Kentucky. Hopefully he comes back very soon in Jalen Lowe, but Florida is my pick here.
yes, I really like Florida, but I don't think they have the depth Yes, I have Kentucky winning it all. I'm a little biased because my guy Jalen, but yeah, I think Kentucky's the deepest team in the whole country. I think Jalen Lowe. I think we kind of expect him to do everything last year. I think he's just a really solid point guard. I think he'll be back for the Louisville game, so he
Okay.
won't be gone for too long. But Mark Pope absolutely cooked in the portal. Jalen Lowe's gonna be a solid point guard. He's gonna dish it out a ton. He'll get his own. He'll get open looks for once. He's gonna get everyone involved. This is a perfect fit for him just to focus on playing point guard. Denzel Aberdeen, I think with an opportunity and uptick in minutes, this guy's gonna score like crazy. Kind of another very strong and fast guard. Otega Owe was one of the best players in the country last year. He's back. Mohamed Diabate is going to be Kentucky's glue guy. I'm all about the glue guy. I've said that word 100 times, but it's
Well said.
important to have a guy like that. And Jaden Quaidon's a little banged up, but him and I said Gabe Dines. Quaidon is such a great shot blocker and rebounder. But this team is so deep. You know, you have Cam Williams, a really good player from Tulane, coming off the bench. You have Jasper Johnson and Malachi Moreno, two five-stars coming off the bench. Jasper Johnson really showed what he can do in that exhibition game. Brandon
Mhm.
Garrison, a really good player who's coming back, and Colin Chandler, who's going to start really getting some minutes, who was a piece from BYU. So yes, I have Kentucky winning it all because my guy Jalen Lowe is going to be in a really great situation, and then how deep they are. So I have Kentucky. So let's move on to all right, Justin. I know it's only October, but who do you have making the Final Four?
So 3 of these teams I already talked about in Houston, UConn, and Florida. So, I think those are more of like my chalk teams. Maybe UConn's a tad bit not, but and then I've been a really big fan of this team. I'm really high on Texas Tech, so as a little bit of a hot take, I'm gonna include Texas Tech in my Final Four. I think JT Toppin personally is the best player in college. I just think he can just dominate. I think he averaged 18 and 10 last season. I like Christian Anderson coming back as well. I feel like he's gonna have an uptick. I think he was only at like 10 points per game last season. I like Lejuan Watts from Washington State. I think he's definitely gonna help them facilitate the ball. He's definitely like a pretty big player, but like I think he averaged like 4.5 assists per game. I think he was at 7 boards a game, and he was doing it at Washington State, which is definitely a pretty good team. Um, I'm a little concerned about their depth. I feel like they're relying on some like pretty big name transfers that didn't really pan out. I think Josiah Mosley from Villanova, he didn't really play too much, but I think they are going to be counting on him a ton. I do like Donovan Atwell a lot. I think he was at UNC Greensboro, and then Tyree Bryan from Santa Clara. But I feel like my overarching point is like I just think Grant McCasland is one of the best coaches in the country. Like, I mean, so I think last year in my bracket, I had Texas Tech in the Final Four beating Florida in the Elite Eight. And I'm sure you, Dewey, remember, but that game, like they had it and
Yep.
they had Florida on the ropes and everyone saw what Florida did in the last two. I understand that they did lose a couple guys. I still don't really understand why Darian Williams went to NC State. Very good player. So that's going to be really tough to fill his void, but I just have so much faith in McCasland. I think them in the Final Four is a stretch, but I definitely like didn't want to go like all chalk. So I'm gonna say one of my favorite teams in Texas Tech, and then along with UConn, Houston, and Florida.
So I don't think we even have a common team in our Final Four. But yeah, Texas Tech's not
That's
that sleeper of a
yeah.
pick because I mean they literally were pretty
Uh,
close to making it last year, and they have JT Toppin. So So
Yeah,
yeah, I have four completely different teams, and it's been kind of
I
the
like
teams
it.
I've been talking a lot this show. But my four teams are Purdue, Kentucky, St. John's, and Louisville. Talked a lot about these teams, but I feel like the common thing I'm looking for is good guard play and really deep teams, and all these teams are deep and they have really good guards. So those are the reasons why I have those four teams. So who would be your national championship game, and who would be your champion?
I would say, I'd say, I feel like I would say UConn and Florida. I just don't know what it is, but like, I just feel like UConn is like just gonna bounce back and just like have like a super good season. If I remember correctly, they played Florida in the round of 32, and I think they were winning that game like at like the under, maybe the under eight timeout. And I do think their team is improved a lot from last season. I just think Dan Hurley can just figure it out, and we obviously seeing the last couple seasons with them. I think that's very dependent on a lot of the transfers, like really blossoming into very like efficient and productive guys in like such like a big stage. But I honestly like I think UConn is my national champion pick.
Wow. Okay, this is interesting because I'm going with the other Big East team. I'm picking St.
Love
John's
it.
to win it all. And the Knicks are going to win it all as well. So both teams in the Garden are going to win it
No,
all this year.
no, no, but
um, So I think Purdue's the best team in the country, but how the heck can you pick a Big Ten team when they haven't won in 25 years? So I can't pick
agreed.
Purdue. I gotta go with St. John's. I just think their team is built for March. They have such a strong seven-man rotation. They have athleticism. They're good defenders. They could shoot now. Last year, that's what killed them. They could not shoot, and they're very tough down low. So I think St. John's is going to win it all, and Rick Pitino cements his legacy. So yeah, we're picking Big East schools. That's very interesting. So let's end it off with some bold predictions. Justin, what are your bold predictions for this season?
I just like definitely let me know what you think because like I don't really know if it's insanely bold, if it's not that bold, but my bold take is I'm gonna say at least three freshmen will make the All-American first team. So, I feel like the three for me, I feel like it's like definitely like a clear top three in Darren Peterson, AJ DeBanza, and Cameron Boozer. I just think like these three are just gonna be unreal this season. Then I feel like the two other freshmen that I like a lot, besides Caleb Wilson from UNC, who you hit on a bit. I think the Arkansas duo of Darius Akoff and Malik Thomas. I mean, like in the scrimmages so far, like they've been so good. I kind of do agree with what you made on Arkansas about how like you kind of struggle to like see how two ball dominant point guards and Akoff and Wagner are gonna mesh. I think Wagner, like I think they might depend on him a little more in the beginning, but like I just feel like Darius Hickoff is like just like going to step into college basketball and immediately be one of the top players in the whole country. So to recap, I'd say 3+ freshmen in the first team All American.
I like it. I think Peterson and Boozer definitely. I just feel like
Yeah,
Peterson and Boozer are super polished. Dance is still little bit raw for me. I don't know. He'll be fantastic. I'm just saying I don't think he's might not put up the numbers like Boozer and Peterson do. So that's what I think. So I have three hot takes, bold predictions, whatever. First one is I think it's gonna be another year of chalk and March Madness. I think we'll see like 4 1 seats again or something. I just think NIL. I know
Yeah.
Jay Billis was, like, ranting about just one data point, but I think this is where we're going. I just think these teams are just so strong because of the transfer portal, so I think we're gonna have another year where the bracket's gonna be super boring. My next one is I wanna talk about Michigan State more. I think they're gonna miss the tournament, which it would be crazy for Tom Izzo. I just don't see it with this team, but I will say, if you're gonna talk about freshmen, I'm gonna talk about Cam Ward. I think he's gonna be one of the surprise freshmen in college basketball this year just because needs to play with some of their injuries and lack of depth. Then the last one you're really gonna like is last year I said the SEC would be amazing. This year, I think the Big Ten is gonna be the best conference in college basketball this year.
Mm.
I have 8 teams in my top 25. So those are my 3 bold takes, and that's all we got. This was awesome previewing the season. I'm super excited. This is my favorite sport is college basketball, so I'm so excited for the next, 6 months or so, watching all these great games and great
Mhm.
players and watching these atmospheres. Justin, anything you wanna add before we head off and start this season?
I feel like I hit on everything that I wanted to. I just wanted to thank you, Dewey, for having me on again. I think opening night of college basketball, Monday, November 3rd, should be a national holiday. But but that definitely should happen. But I just wanted to thank you for having me back on the
Of
pod.
course, Justin, and one thing I wanna add is they gotta put it back to starting on a Friday. I remember growing up, coming home from school,
Hmm.
starting the weekend where the first night of the season was a Friday night. So can they please do that again? Friday night for the
Yeah,
first night is the best. So that's all I
make it
wanna say,
happen.
and so I'm so excited for this Monday, so thank you, Justin, and I'm so excited for the season.
Yep, so am I.